First guest this morning is Teresa Corbin. She grew up Catholic, but she's now a Muslim.
Teresa converted just 2 months after September 11th. We welcomed her to Memphis for Muslims in Memphis Month. That's March, and we will link to a website where you can get information about all of the events, because the whole idea is bridging the gap. But first, let's tell your story. You were Catholic?
Yes, ma'am.
What made you convert?
I was studying different cultures and different religions, and in college, my roommate actually converted to Islam. And when she converted, I realized all of a sudden that I had all these prejudices towards Muslims that I hadn't even known.
Prejudice like what?
Like, I thought that they were violent and angry, and, they oppressed women. The typical misconceptions about Islam.
Right.
And what I came to find out, it was completely the opposite of all of that. And it really attracted me, and it spoke to my nature. And so I just figured that if this is what I feel, then I should be Muslim too.
What were the key points that attracted you about Islam?
Just the connection with God. You pray 5 times a day and reestablish that connection with your Creator. And, just the modesty and the humility. And it was a lot of different things, I think. And really learning about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was just reminded me so much of what I learned about Jesus. And, his patience and tolerance towards all people. And it was just amazing.
Teresa, when you also converted, was there much resistance, pushback from other family members, other friends, or how did they react to your decision?
Well, it was kind of mixed. They were concerned, of course, because it was a hard time for Muslims at the time. So,
right.
They were worried for my safety, and I appreciated that. But mostly they were really supportive. Like, if this is what you want to do, then we'll support you. So they were really good.
And they took steps to educate themselves.
Absolutely.
So they understood it more fully.
My younger sister, Eileen, she actually took a course in college about Islam, so she could learn more about
Does it
religion.
make you angry, groups like ISIS and people who call themselves Muslims, and I suppose technically are, but do not follow the truly peaceful tenets of the faith? Does that make you angry? Because so many Americans do have a very negative opinion of Muslims.
Yes. I can't tell you how frustrating it is, and that is what the world sees about Islam. And it's a complete distortion, and it makes something that I find so beautiful in my life, it makes it so corrupt to other people. And it's just very, very frustrating and makes me very angry. And I wish that, and it's a good thing they're having me here tonight so I could have that platform to tell people this is not Islam at all, by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe these people are Muslim, I can't say that, but what they do is completely divorced from Islam.
Are you seeing any positive steps or more positive steps for communities, people of different religions, to try slowly but surely to better get to know one another?
Absolutely. I'm seeing really good things. Well, where I'm from in New Orleans, there's a lot of interfaith committees, and we get together and talk about what we can do to help the youth become more faithful and how we can live together in peace and understand each other. So, and definitely here in Memphis, I'm really impressed with the Muslims in Memphis organization, how they're having such an outreach to the community. I believe last week they did the Stop Hunger Now drive, and we're very successful in that, and got a bunch of people of different faiths together to, collaborate on this effort.
Right, to bridge that gap.
To bridge the gap. There's a big gap, and it needs to be bridged, definitely.
So tonight you are speaking, and we'll put this on the screen for you. You're speaking in Germantown. Will it just be a talk, you telling your story, or will you take questions? Because I think people have a lot of questions, and maybe they're even afraid to ask for fear of looking prejudiced. But will you take questions?
Yeah, because, again, a lot of people want a conversation.
Yes.
And they want to get to know one another and understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
So what will happen?
We're going to have questions at the end. I believe there's going to be about 30 minutes for questions. I won't really necessarily be telling about my story because I do have a blog where I have all of that. I'll be inviting people to understand what Islam is, who the Muslims are, and where the misconceptions lie. So I'm going to really be focusing on that. And afterwards, people, if they have questions about me and my journey or anything really, they don't need to feel shy or embarrassed or feel like we'll judge them or, be harsh towards them. We're open to everything.
You also mentioned that you are a feminist. Just
Yes.
reading on you. And
Yes.
what did you find with regard to how women are regarded?
Well, my first interaction with a Muslim woman, I asked her, why do you have to wear this, the hijab or scarf, you
Right.
call it.
So many rules.
Right. And, she told me so beautifully, it's her choice to please God. And it's not that she's hiding from the world, but she's dressing this way so she can be recognized as a believing woman. Like we would recognize a picture of Mary. She was a faithful woman. Peace and blessings be upon her. Like we would recognize a nun. So this is not like we're not hiding from the world. We're trying to represent ourselves as believing women.
Do you feel you also have just as many rights as any other woman in any other religion?
I do, absolutely. I feel like, there's not only so many marriage rights, and a lot of people have problems with that because they see what goes on in politics in the Middle East that is contrary to Islam. The woman has the right to say who she marries, who she doesn't marry, if she marries, if she divorces, when she wants to divorce, all these rights, and it's not just a right to education. It is an obligation on every Muslim. So whatever they're doing that's contrary to this is completely against Islam.
So the Taliban, they're not really practicing. So we just have to help get that word out, and that's
Right,
exactly what
absolutely.
the Muslims in Memphis group is doing
Yeah.
all this month. And again, we will link to that website so you
Yeah.
can get the many events. Very interesting.
Yeah, Teresa, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
so
Thank you for the time.
Islam is for everyone, and no matter where you are, Allah will find you. I was a missionary. I went on working witness trips with the church. I spoke in the church. I sang in the church. I was in Bible quizzing. I did everything I could in the church. And one day Allah told me, there's something about you, and you have to do something. I have a plan for you. I could never figure out what it was until the one day I picked up Quran and felt peace and realized that the way that I was raised, the way that I was going, wasn't the way that Allah had planned for me. And subhanAllah, I became Muslim 19 years ago, and it's an amazing, amazing life ever since.
You were actually a missionary?
I went to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we used to build broken down homes from storms and witness and sing to the people and hand out food. We worked at soup kitchens and all of that.
What was the main thing about Islam that drew you to it?
Well, the thing about Christianity that was different was we always spoke about Jesus, we sang about Jesus, every sermon was about Jesus, and God was missing from everything. And I thought, where is God in all of this? Allah is the one who made everything. So why aren't we singing of Him? Why aren't we talking about Him? So when I started reading and seeing all of the things about Allah, and everyone is worshiping Allah, and the 5 times prayer, just focusing on Allah, it meant so much to me. And I realized that a man cannot be a God. He wasn't there. He was a messenger, and he did amazing things, but he was not the Son of God, and it is not through him that I'm going to get to heaven. It's through Allah.
Do you still love Jesus?
Absolutely. I mean, how could you not love the messenger that Allah sent and shown all of the people at that time the right way to live? And just because it got a little bit construed along the way, it doesn't mean he wasn't a prophet, he wasn't a messenger. He came to teach and show the people at that time, but he's still relevant today. And subhanAllah, Allah sends everyone when they're supposed to be sent. And I still love Jesus. I just realize he's not the Son of God. He's not my Savior. He's not the one who's going to get me to Jannah. Only Allah can do that. Only following what Allah says.
When people hear this word Allah, it's really strange for them. Can you define when you say Allah, what do you mean?
So Allah is God. It's just another way of saying God. It's how it's said in Arabic, but it is God, the one God. There's one God. There's not many gods. People can put names on everything, but Allah, God is. I mean, He is the being. He is the one who made us all, who created us all, and so it is nothing different. It's not God and Allah is two different people or two different gods. There's one God.
Can you just briefly talk about the hijab? Did Jesus' mother wear what you're wearing, this hijab?
Absolutely. What pictures don't you see? I mean, where have you seen any picture of Mary with her hair? Who knows what her hair looks like? Every picture is of her in hijab. Even in the Catholic Church, the picture of Mother Mary is in hijab. She's not without hair, or with her hair uncovered. So, I mean, why wouldn't you, if you're following her in other religions and everything, then so why is hijab so different because you're Muslim? I mean, you should recognize that throughout.
For people who think that Islam is synonymous with terrorism and violence, what do you say?
It's so far from the truth because Islam does not even allow you shouldn't even break a branch of a tree. You don't hurt one another. It is said to be kind. You have to love. That's what Allah is. Allah is love. You cannot harm one another. It says that if you hurt one person, one of mankind, not one Muslim, anyone in mankind, it is as though you have hurt everyone. So there is no such thing as terrorism in Islam. People say in their way, what they may think, but that is not Islam. Islam is peace.
Last suggestions for anybody who's looking into Islam, but they're kind of scared, like with their family or the pressure from society. What advice do you give to them? How did you overcome that?
It isn't always easy because you will have family who doesn't accept, or who doesn't agree, or who doesn't know anything about Islam. It's scary. All they've heard is what they've heard on TV. And you have to just get a good masjid, have good support, good community. There are so many out there. Gain Peace does a really great job. All the different masjids that you're involved in, make sure that you have backup and community. And there's so much love and care that is surrounding you. And don't give up. Don't give up. There's hope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.